In our first special report, we look at soybeans, one of the most farmed crops in the U.S. and worldwide. But why are they so important? What are soybeans used for? You probably use soy-based products every day without even knowing it. They're a very multi-use crop, and that makes them profitable. So, we take a deeper look into what makes this plant one of the biggest row crops in the world.
The humble soybean, #1 row crop and the #2 ag commodity in Mississippi, with over 111 million bushels produced in 2020. So, what exactly makes this plant so special? What exactly is a soybean?
So soybean plants are legumes. They'd be related to something like a pea. Legume just means that these plants are able to fix nitrogen from the atmosphere and use it in a form that the plant can use in the soil.
Soybeans have several growth stages that experts normally refer to. The vegetative stages, VE through V4, are essentially the plant's youth. 3 productive stages, R1 through R8, take the plant from flowering to growing pods to harvest. Soybeans have a high protein count, which makes them an excellent food source, both for us and for animals.
The main use of soybean today is likely livestock and poultry feed. Soybeans have a high protein content. When they're processed, it's either done in the form of meal or the oil, and most of the meal is used for animal food. Oils can be used in human food. There's lots of things that we eat every day that we might not even realize that soy is a part of. Other aspects, I'm sure people have heard of biodiesel. That's one use that soybeans contribute to. And there's even things like lubricants and things like that in the industrial sector that soybeans can be used for.
It wasn't always like this, though. The soybeans seen a huge boost in uses over the past 30 years. Used to be, they were only grown on soils where other crops couldn't.
When you look at the history in our state, we primarily were a cotton-producing state historically. And soybeans have been, even in those days, were grown across a lot of acres. They were grown primarily on the acres that probably weren't suitable to produce cotton on. They were grown, as a rotational crop in some cases.
So, why have they become so popular? In short, their adaptability. They're a fairly hardy plant that finds a way to thrive in almost all soil types, at least in Mississippi. They can grow in hard clay soil, sandy soil, and everything in between.
So over the years, soybeans have come a long way. Modern varieties have been adapted to grow in a wide range of latitudes and environments, meaning that there are varieties suitable for extreme northern latitudes with short growing seasons, and further southern latitudes where we can have longer growing seasons and different daylight times and things of that nature. So soybeans are grown all over the world really, but they're widely adapted across the U.S.
But that didn't happen overnight. Along with innovative new ways to use soybeans, a lot of research has gone into finding better ways to grow and care for the crop.
More recently, I guess, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, we've changed the way we produce soybeans. We have different management practices that have been adopted. Anybody that's in the production world has heard of the early soybean production system that was developed years ago. That really revolutionized what we're able to do with soybeans. We've increased our yield potential through scouting efforts, technology. Modern genetics have come a long way. So just all the way around the board, we're able to produce more per acre.
So, what are the major issues with growing soybeans? No plant is perfect. Well, most of them have to do with the same issues as other row crops, mainly weeds, bug pests, and disease.
Some of the major issues, or really all of them, are very similar to what other commodities would experience. So weed control is a major concern. In soybean in particular, disease management is a big deal. Insect pressure can be detrimental to our yield. Those are probably 3 of the biggest factors that have variability in them.
But the one thing that keeps this crop strong is the same reason it became popular in the first place: its hardiness and adaptability.
Soybeans they're a very forgiving plant if they're given what they need and they're taken care of. So, for example, if you have subpar populations after planting due to weather or too much rain, flooding kind of scenarios. You know, they can compensate, and certain varieties can bush out and compensate for a lack of plant population, so to speak. So, you know, the genetic parents of these varieties that we grow, some are more upright in their architecture, some are shorter and bushier, so they'd be more suited to fill out a wider row.
All of these factors combine to create a commodity that's one of the pillars of the ag market and the top row crop in Mississippi, for now. Prices change, and with that also comes decisions for producers.
In a state like Mississippi, where we have our big three of being soybean and cotton and corn, they all kind of fit well together, and really it's just going to be dependent on what the market price is that year as to what the big money-driving selection is going to be.
So, that's the soybean, a plant with many uses and potentially more to come. It's grown all over the world, and although market prices fluctuate regularly, it seems that this commodity will stay relevant for many years to come.